Let's talk about why it's important to understand ad placements. For example, let's take goal number one. We need to maximize our sales. To maximize sales, we need to make sure we've created campaigns that'll appear in every possible placement. Plus, these campaigns won't overlap or interfere with each other, which means they'll grow as quickly as possible. Why did I combine this topic with overlap and cross negative keywords? And for your campaign to grow as much as possible and perform at its best, its metrics need to be better than those of your competitors' campaigns. If you have several campaigns that overlap and occasionally stop running, they'll perform worse than if you just had a single campaign doing the job. Let's take, for example, the query memory pillow. We have a broad campaign running for it, and we also have an exact campaign. And it kind of feels like a shame to turn off either one. Both are getting clicks, impressions, and an ACOS that works for us, plus the TACOS is low. But you need to understand, a single campaign will collect more impressions, more clicks, and more sales. And compared to competitors' campaigns, it performs better, spends more, and Amazon will be more interested in promoting the campaign with higher metrics. If you have 2, 3, or 4 campaigns competing for the same search term, naturally each of them will show 2, 3, or 4 times less performance. And that's why for long-term goals, for the long-term development of your advertising account, for sales, and for profitability, this is not beneficial. In other words, there should be a campaign that doesn't compete with anyone else for ad placements. Some people think that we're artificially inflating the click price this way, but that's not how it works. On Amazon, in Amazon campaigns, targets compete with each other for impressions. That is, for a single search term, only one campaign can get an impression for a single ASIN. So if we have both a broad and an exact campaign, or for example also an automatic campaign that can target memory pillow, then only one of these campaigns will get an impression at a time for a single user query. The other two, or however many we have, will stop at that moment. They won't get impressions, clicks, or sales. As a result, our outcome is split into 2 or 3 parts. In each campaign, they're inherently weaker compared to our strong competitors. And that's the problem. The problem is stopping. We remember that Amazon likes gradual growth. It's not interested when we stop. So let's draw a parallel. Paused ads are like being out of stock at the product level. It's like a small out of stock that sets us back. We need the maximum number of impressions, clicks, and conversions so that Amazon sees this campaign as making it more money than all the others and becomes most interested in it. That's why, to grow sales, we need maximum presence and maximum performance. In other words, campaigns that can deliver the most sales. And if your campaigns overlap, it's not guaranteed that the campaign with the most impressions will be the one that sells the most, has the best conversion rate, and the lowest TACOs. The campaign that will get the most impressions and clicks is the one that's most profitable for Amazon, the one that spends the most money, and most likely that won't be the most profitable for you. You need to keep this in mind as well. In a single campaign that's optimized for spending, performance, and conversion will give you the best results. That's why we eliminate overlap by understanding where our ads are shown. Second question. We need to get more sales with a certain budget that we can't increase. So we have campaigns that are performing well with good performance and conversion, and others that aren't doing as well. Naturally, within the same campaigns, we can remove the placements that are less profitable for us and keep only those placements that bring in the most profit. This way, with the same level of spending, we can sell much more by cutting out the placements that aren't profitable for us. Let's take our first ad, the one we see at the top of the page. This is the classic top of search for sponsored brands ads. We remember that both display ads and video ads with displays can also appear here. But the classic one is sponsored brands advertising. That's what we usually see at the top of the page. 3 products. So this is advertising. This placement is officially called top of search on Amazon. In the sponsored brands ad report, we see 3 placements: top of search, rest of search, and product page. Rest of search refers to the branded banners we can find lower down. Product page refers to sponsored brand banners that are shown on the product detail page. Sometimes people also call that top banner top of page, but officially on Amazon it's called top of search. So this top placement, just like sponsored products, top of search always delivers the highest sales, and its performance is much better. We'll go over this case in more detail in the next videos. And if we're aiming to grow sales without increasing expenses, then for sponsored brand, for example, we'll remove rest of search, we'll remove product page, and leave only top of search. In this case, we'll get the maximum sales with the lowest ACOS and, accordingly, the lowest TACOS. The same applies to sponsored products ads. We systematically identify and eliminate the ineffective placements in each campaign that are causing financial losses, and we carefully retain and optimize only the specific ads in those spots that will bring us a consistent and sustainable profit. There's also a scenario where, on the contrary, we need to reduce the budget, and we need to understand what will happen after the budget is cut. If we're spending too much and the client or account owner can't afford to spend that much on advertising, expenses need to be reduced to a minimum. Obviously, campaigns with zero spend are cut, as well as campaigns that spend a lot but perform poorly, with bad conversion rates and high TACOs. But it's important to understand what will happen when we turn them off. Do these campaigns affect the market share we get from sales, from keywords, from total sales volume? And maybe we have keywords that, even with a high ACOS, are maintaining our organic positions. For example, we're running our top of search sponsored products ads for the keyword memory pillow at a pretty high cost. Here, the ACOS is quite high. But if we leave this spot where we get a lot of sales because this ad is almost always visible to the buyer and brings in the maximum sales, we'll lower our total sales and market share. Without this, our organic positions will drop significantly. If we fall out of the top 2 or 3 organic positions for this keyword, our sales could be cut in half. There, even if we drop just a few positions in organic search, we'll lose so much organic traffic that the TACOs from advertising will increase to the point where it becomes even more unprofitable. That's why when turning off ads, you need to understand where they're being shown and what depends on those ad impressions. So even basic optimization is impossible without understanding where our ads are being displayed.